Hello, all. This is Damini, co founder of WeMakeScholars. I welcome you to yet another episode of our series Discover Study Abroad. So, today we have Kunal Agarwal with us, who is from Delhi. This video is going to be very interesting and very inspiring for a lot of average students because Kunal had very mediocre profile in terms of academics, but he still built up on that through the internships and everything, and he made sure he gets into like top universities around the world. So he applied to UK and got into University College London, which is ranked third in UK. And then he applied to the top universities in the US. He got into New York University, which is again in top 20 in the US. And then he got into one of the top technical universities in Europe, that is Technical University of Munich. So we are going to ask him what is the secret sauce behind cracking all these top universities of the world, and how did he manage the application process. And Kunal finally chose to go to Germany, leaving aside the top university of UK and the top university of US. So we are going to ask him why he chose that. So it's going to be a very interesting and informative session. Let's start. So, hello Kunal, thanks a lot for joining us today for this session, and I'm sure it's going to be very informative for our users. So, thanks a lot for accepting my request to join for this session.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for this interview.
Yeah. So Kunal, I'm gonna ask you like a certain questions which a lot of people are waiting to hear about your profile, which I have given them an
Mhm.
introduction that what all top schools you have got into.
Yes.
Before I get to those questions more detailed about the university and everything, I would like to
Mhm.
know a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up in India, and where did you do your studies and schooling and everything? So can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Kunal Agarwal, and I'm from Delhi. And I was brought up in Delhi only, and my schooling and everything was in Delhi itself. I did my bachelor's of technology (BTech) in biomedical engineering from MIT University,
Okay.
and that is in Manesar.
Hmm.
And I completed my bachelor's last year in 2020, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So
Okay, okay, sure. And when you decided to, so you completed your bachelor's recently, or you had any work experience also after that?
no. I finished last year, and then I did not do any job. So actually, I applied for masters last year only, and got the offers.
Due to COVID and all
But because of, yeah, I had to defer my offers. So,
that.
and during that time, I was basically preparing myself. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So when you told your parents this idea of you planning to study abroad, so what exactly,
Mhm.
how did they react to it? They were like, they were okay with it, or were they, not okay? So how exactly this went?
No, so it was like they always promoted me to study abroad and supported me. And my big brother also has done his masters from Australia,
Okay.
and so they also wanted me to go
Okay.
for my higher education abroad.
Okay.
So it was since the first year of my bachelor's that I had a plan in my mind that yes, I have to go for masters, and I was preparing all this time for
Okay.
this journey.
Okay, so I think your parents were okay. They kind of knew
Yes,
that,
yes,
this is what you wanted to do. Okay.
yes, yes.
Kunal, I wanted to talk about your program also, what you have chosen. But before that, when I went through your profile and I saw that, I've got into some of the very top universities around the world. And that also, like, generally people apply to one country, and then, I
Mhm.
see in their profile, let's say they've got into top ranked universities in the US, for example. But in your case, you got into like you applied to UK, you applied to Germany, and you applied to US. And I
Yes,
I know personally that all the three countries have quite different admission process. And then also
yes,
you
yes.
managed to get into like top universities. You got into University College London, which is top 5 in UK, and you got into, let's say, NYU. in the US, which is again in top 20. And then you got into TU Munich, which is Technical University Munich, which is one of the top ranked, topmost technical university in Europe. So how did you like manage the application process differently for all the universities? And what is the secret sauce behind, cracking all the top universities of the world?
So, well, in terms of application process, it's not really a big deal, I would say, because like you have to, for US, definitely you have to give the GRE and IELTS or TOEFL. But because of COVID, actually, I had uh, a benefit that many universities in US has had waived off
Gift of.
the GRE requirement. So basically, I checked that and I applied in those universities only which had waived off GRE. So NYU was one of them. So I gave IELTS only for my application process, and I didn't give GRE or TOEFL. And otherwise, the other documents are all the same, like the SOP, LOR, and the mark sheets all are same. So the only difference in between the universities is the portal. You have to go to the website and apply them. So it's not really a big deal while applying. So yeah, but the main, I would say, the main secret behind this cracking this universities is so honestly speaking, my grades were not that great during my bachelor's. I had a
Okay.
8.2 CGPA,
Okay.
but
Okay.
during my bachelor's, I was lucky enough to get internship in US, in Germany itself. So
Okay.
I did my two internships,
Hmm.
one in US and one in Germany
Okay.
during my
Okay.
second and third year. And
Hmm.
during those internships of 2 months, I was able to gain a lot of practical experience of those universities and their culture. And I think because of those internships and because of my SOP and LORs, I was able to crack these universities.
Okay. Okay.
So uh, I would suggest that during bachelor's, try to do as much as projects you can
Hmm.
and try to get a good internship, because that will give you a great working experience and that will boost your profile. So
Okay.
GPA and marks are definitely important,
Hmm.
but getting internships, good internships are really important.
Okay.
So
So Kunal,
and
I think this conversation. Okay, you were adding something. You wanted to add something?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
uh, and one important document which is like really important is the SOP.
Hmm.
So like I've seen like people like they don't really write much or do not elaborate much in their SOP, but I guess that SOP is the main document that actually can help you crack these universities. So for example, like for University College London, the minimum requirement of CGPA that I need to have was 8.5, but
Okay.
my CGPA was 8.2. So
8.2.
actually, I was not. Yeah. So actually I was not eligible for that.
Okay.
But even then, I applied in a hope that yeah, let's try. And I knew that my SOP was strong, and basically my motivation was strong. And with that SOP and with my internships and project, I was able to get the UCL.
Okay.
So even though I was not eligible, so
Hmm.
uh, SOP is a very important document that one should really focus on.
Okay. So Kunal, I mean, no, see, this conversation which I'm having with you, I think it is very different with the, let's say, similar sort of conversation I had with other people. Let's say someone got into University of Toronto and all. Because I think most of those people, they mentioned that in their SOP, the key element they specified was how their work experience helped them and all those
Mhm.
things. And, even the CGPA, I think in those cases was a little higher. So I think your
Yeah.
profile is something which is very attractive now. When you're sharing those details, think a lot of students can aim to, for these top universities because,
Mhm.
8.2 is on the higher end, but again, not in 9 and, in that way. So you're
Yes.
giving,
Yes.
I think, a lot of inspiration to, let's say, above average sort of students. So
Mhm.
because you did not had a work experience also, and your
Yes.
CGPA was let's say above average sort of thing.
Yeah.
You think that internship, so and I wanted to know, like, even though you had internships, how exactly did you put it in to your changing your course from biomedical to neuroscience? Because I think bio is an area where a lot of people look for practical exposure and work experience. So how exactly did you crack that point?
Okay. So actually, it was like a link. So biomedical engineering was my bachelor's, and my
Hmm.
master's is in neuroengineering.
Hmm.
So neuroengineering is kind of a sub branch of biomedical itself.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
it's like we only focus on the brain
Hmm.
and engineering parts of the brain.
So it's a
So
specialization of that, yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
during this bachelor's, my first internship project that was in US, uh, it was mainly about brain imaging and like
Mm.
taking medical images of brain and then using artificial intelligence techniques to find information from there.
Okay.
So this is like kind of medical image processing field that I was working on, and my professors in my MIT University were also working in similar field. So
Okay.
after coming back from internship, I worked with them on with some projects. Then I went to Germany for an internship, and over there also it was on the same field, but a
Mm.
different project, but in the same field. Then
Okay.
then my bachelor's thesis was in the same field also. So basically,
Okay.
all this time I was working on the same domain, and it was all about brain and imaging. And so that actually helped me focus on this specialized masters of neuroengineering because it has to be about brain. So I was fascinated about brain, so I did everything about brain and imaging and engineering,
Got it.
and
Mm.
this is how I mentioned these things in my SOP, that my
Okay.
experiences is all in the same line,
Mm.
and that makes me perfect for your program, which is neuroengineering, and
Mm.
so I was able to get it.
Got it. Because see, SOP is all about how you connect the dots. So because see, everyone
Yes,
else told me the story how they kept their work experience into the highlight of the SOP. And I think in
yes.
your case, you connected the dots very well, through your
Hmm.
internships and through your thesis. So I think that's
Yes,
what
yes.
became the highlight. Okay. So Kunal, if you don't mind, can you share the universities where you did internship in the US and in Germany?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So in US, it was a Stevens Institute of Technology in New
Okay,
Jersey.
SIT. Hmm. Okay.
Yes, and in Germany, it was Otto von Guericke University in Magdeburg.
Okay, got it.
So
So viewers, please note it down. So, this is a very important part. So in case, you want to go ahead without work experience and you still want to get into top universities like Kunal has got into, internship is a very important factor which you should focus on. Great. So Kunal, now do you think like the 10th and 12th marks also, because I keep asking this question to a lot of people because,
mhm.
people who did not do, let's say, great in 10th and 12th, but they are a bright enough student at a graduation level. So do you think their 10th and 12th marks somewhere affect their profile? Like, and if yes, to what extent?
uh, for like for United States, it's not for sure.
Okay.
That's my opinion, and not for UK also. But for Germany, I think they see your 10th and 12th marks, and because like my 10th and 12th marks were in the range of 80%,
Mm.
so it was like 80s and 80s all the time, like 10th, 12th, and bachelor's.
Mm.
So like my marks were not very great, but it was average. And
Okay.
so for Germany specifically, I have seen that universities actually ask 10th and 12th marks,
Mm.
and they expect you to have above 70%. So if you have above 70%, that's like acceptable by
Good
them.
enough. Okay, sure. So Kunal, my next question to you, which is the very interesting one, and even I am waiting to hear the answer. That why,
Mhm.
what made you choose TUM? So you chose finally to go to Technical University of Munich, and you left aside UCL and NYU, which are, see, again, I mean, I'm not personally a fan of like rankings, which are just more of a branding
Mhm.
thing, the tag you add to your profile. And
Yes.
I know that Technical University of Munich, even though it is not in those top rank, because German universities are generally not similar to IITs in India, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
I can relate to some things why you would have chosen TUM, but I want to hear from you. What made you, leave aside the tag, a top tag NYU and a top tag like UCL and go for TUM?
Like, there are mainly two reasons for this. So
Mm,
the main reason is the program which I applied for.
mm,
So in NYU, it was biomedical engineering masters, which
mm,
was like a more of a general program,
mm.
and so it was good, but it was general. But I wanted something
It was not a
specialized.
specialization. Oh. Mm,
Yes. So and in UCL, the program was it was specialized, but it was medical image computing, so it was very much specialized and interesting to me. But the program of Munich, which is neuroengineering, uh, was like the most interesting to me because it was like all about brain and connecting brain with like the engineering field. So it was something which was like really fascinated me and something which I really like to do. So I chose this program. It had different faculties. The professors were good, and yeah, again, the master's program in Germany is of 2 years. In
mm,
UCL, it is of 1 year.
mm,
So I thought that okay, like 2 years of program should be good. And there's a thesis part in that also. And in UCL, the thesis part is small. So I think I cannot like you can do thesis in short amount of time, but
mm.
2 years of masters is something which you can learn a lot. So
Okay.
I guess that's the reason I thought I took
Mm,
Munich. That's the first
okay.
reason, the program, and the second reason is the mainly the financials because
Mm.
definitely I
Germany
had to
is
take a
much
loan.
cheaper. Mm,
Yes, so there's no tuition fees for NYU. The tuition fees a lot is high, and the living cost is already high. So it was really high. And for UCL also, fees and the living cost of living in London is also very high. So I even though I was taking a loan, but I didn't want a big burden. So I thought like having a small amount of loan is something better. So in that terms, I took Munich.
got it, got it. And was there anywhere the reason, because see, European countries are pretty good when it comes to research. So, if you are looking forward to a career in research, let's say a PhD after your master's or so. So, was there
Mhm.
anywhere the reason? Because UK and US, of course, are
Yes, yes,
not as research oriented as Europe is, right? So, was that the reason anywhere?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
So the like definitely I want to do a PhD afterwards after my masters. So for that again, Munich the is a good place, and I saw like while choosing the university also I saw the list of professors that work over there.
Hmm.
So and like again, ranking is not always the main thing. You have to look at the department, the program, and the faculties who are teaching over there, the professors, the alumni. So everything has to be seen, and then you have to decide which program is good. So in NYU, the program was actually quite new. It was
Hmm.
not old. So I thought that if it's not old, then like I don't want to be a guinea pig, and be the experiment. So NYU was not a good place. UCL is good, but Munich had the professors of Munich were something really good that really attracted me.
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
another reason. Yeah. So,
Right. So again, I want to repeat it for my viewers that it is important that you focus on the program what you're going to study instead of the tag which the university carries. So as you know, in my last, I had another Kunal, another student named Dipali, which I
mhm.
interacted over last few, I
Okay.
think 2 months back. So even she chose, she got into Harvard and University of Pennsylvania, but she chose University of Pennsylvania particularly for the program. So I want to repeat
Mhm.
it for my viewers, as Kunal is saying that he checked the faculty, he checked the course content, he checked what sort of research the department had been doing. I think all these things are very important when you are looking forward to study something, because a tag of NYU, because NYU might be famous for a computer science program, so you don't probably will have a lot of options of future, and the probably the employability or the kind of companies coming in, or the research and the PhD options if you're going just with the university tag. So please check the details of the department and all that as well. Sure. Kunal, now as we have discussed the course, but I think people got a lot of information, and they're definitely going to go on your path and do a lot of internships and everything. So I want to now talk about the financial front. So you decided to apply
Mhm.
via WeMakeScholars rather than applying
Yeah.
directly for a loan. So do you think that was a
Yes.
good decision, and probably that was the right move you took up?
Yes, yes, definitely. So if I would have approached banks directly, I would have like tired a lot. Like it was a really tiring process. I tried once before, and it was like I have to go to bank. They will say, okay, we'll come again, and it's like uh, they will postpone things. They won't respond to you properly. But when I applied via VMix Scholars, I was they gave me the contact of the main branch who is and of that main branch, the main loan processing officer, and I directly talked to that guy. And so basically, all the hurdles that come in between were cleared, and I could directly talk to him. And because I applied through VMix Scholars, so he was actually like talking to me properly. Otherwise, he would have like also ignored me like that. So that actually really helped me a lot if I that applying through VMix Scholars.
Okay. So Kshitij Agarwal was your financial officer. So
Yes.
I'm sure you must
Yes.
have spoken to him a lot of times during this whole process. So how was the interaction with him? What are some of the best things about him if you can share?
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah, so he was like I would really say he's a kind guy, and he really helped me a lot. So like every time I had a doubt, I called him, and he cleared my doubts. And it was like it was a very in a friendly way. It was not like he was just telling me officially. He told me, explained things like very personally, so I could understand them, and he guided me. So uh, and like in the first case, I applied to a government bank where they were asking for a property, and which I didn't want to put over there. So then he suggested me to apply for a private bank, and in that one, he really helped me like all through all the process. But finally, after like going through the process of private bank, the bank denied the loan. So at that moment, like I was a little bit disappointed. So at that moment, he really supported me and said that no worries, we have NBFCs also, so we can apply for there. And he like told me about the NBFCs, and then we applied. So at every point of time, he was supporting me very much, and that's really a great thanks to him.
So Kunal, yeah, that's generally the process we follow. We
Hmm.
help students with the government banks and then with the private banks and with NBFCs because government banks are a better option for students in the long run.
Yes.
So a lot of students, in the they apply very much in the last minute, and that sometimes we do not have enough time to apply to government banks. Only in that case, we suggest them to go for private banks or NBFCs directly.
Yes.
But I think in your case, Kshitij was always there, suggesting you government
Yeah.
bank and
Yeah.
private bank and NBFC. So did you ever like when the private bank rejected your loan, were you like
Mhm.
hopeful that Kshitij will be able to help you, or did you had that kind of reliability on him?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was like at that moment I was like very disappointed, and so like we had like I discussed with the family, and they were thinking about other solutions to do this. And then Shitish called me, and he said that he had talked with the bank, the private bank, and they told him that they have denied my loan application. So
Hmm.
at that moment only he gave me different solutions. Like he said, maybe you can apply for a different co-applicant, or you can apply for different NBFCs.
Okay.
So I discussed with him. So at every point of time, he was giving me solutions, guidance. So everything
Okay.
was really a great journey with him.
Okay, got it. So, Kunal, now I won't take much of your time. So this is my last question. Because you had built your profile in such an excellent way, and I'm sure when you're
Mhm.
planning for your masters, even though you shared with us about the PhD plans as well. So how do you think,
Mhm.
this masters, especially at Germany, it takes you closer to what you aspire to do in the future. So what exactly are your future aspirations, and how is it taking you closer to that?
So my like, future aspirations is basically to work as a scientist for now, and that too in the field of like neuroscience. So I
Okay.
want to basically work. I want to develop those technologies which can help uh, patients having brain disorders treat faster, treat better. So
Okay.
so I want to. The neuroengineering program basically teaches me how to use engineering skills and
Hmm.
on the brain and solve the problems related with the brain. So definitely this program is going to teach me a lot of things, and those things will then help me make me capable of doing a PhD and then further into research. And yeah, that's like my goal is to basically do research, and that is the best way to do it.
Okay, awesome. So now I can totally understand why you chose Germany, because Europe is the place to be if you really want to do very let's say innovative things and research. So
Yes.
yeah, great. So Kunal, it was great discussing all these things with you, and I'm sure people who are watching this video would have got a lot of information, and
Yeah.
also a lot of inspiration that your CGPA doesn't stop you, and you don't really have to be
Hmm.
like a 90% wala kid to
Yeah.
get into UCL and NYU and TUM and universities like this.
Yes.
So you can be like within 80%, and you can maintain that average and do a lot of innovative things like you have done
Yes.
with your internships and everything. So I'm
Hmm.
sure that gives a lot of inspiration to a lot of aspirants who are probably going to follow your path. So thank you very much for sharing this
Thank you.
information with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Yeah, bye bye.
Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon to never miss any updates from us.